Hello, I just got this out of the library. Geoffrey Chaucer, Troilus and Criseyde. This is the primary text for the next seminar for the narrative transformations module, and it's this big. I want to avoid making the same mistake of reading most of it the night before, so I want to divide this into 10 days and see if I cover it in a bit more logical and kind way to myself. So this is written in Middle English, which is extra challenge. I don't even speak normal English very well, but fortunately not all of it is the text. A lot of it is notes, and mostly notes and the introduction. Yeah, so this much, as in this bit in the middle, is the actual text, and it's divided into 5 books. So it looks a bit better, right, compared to this. It's less intimidating. So the book 1 starts on page 1, and book 5 ends on page 347. So it's about 347 pages of verse. So it's poetry. So yeah, we'll see how we get on. I'm going to just divide 347 by 10 and put some kind of little pieces of paper in, so I know how much to aim for each day. So let's do that. That's it. Here we go. 10 sections. All the best, Nicole. All the best. Hello, it's now Saturday evening. I just came back from the booktuber meetup actually. But anyway, an update on my reading of Troilus and Criseyde. After I put those markers in, I've been reading them, and to my delight, I was on schedule for the last 2 days. So yesterday and today I managed to read 35 pages per day, and I've been really pleased with myself. But I did it by cheating, as in I was reading the modern English translation, and I thought I could manage to read all the way to the end. I could finish this if I read the modern translation, so at least I know what happens in the story. But today I received an email from the professor to the whole group saying it has to be Middle English. So I've been a bit stressed about that, because there's no way I'm going to get to the end of the story if I read Middle English. That's what the professor asks, and I'm going to do my best. So I've been trying to read things in Middle English, and this edition is actually very good. It has a lot of notes at the bottom. It's worse than Shakespeare, seriously. So there's notes at the bottom there, and then the stories on top. So it's very helpful. Most of the unfamiliar words are explained, but I just can't hold all that information in my head. As in, if I check the words, I forget what the whole section, like even for this much, I would check the words and then forget what this whole thing is about. I just can't hold it all in my head in one go. So I'm working out a system. Let me show you. So this is my Notion page at the moment. I use Notion a lot. As you can see, I made a table. So this is about a few lines. That's like a chunk, about that much in the first column. And I copied it from Gutenberg. And then that one is basically me tidying up the spelling, the Middle English spelling, but keeping the sentence, the word order, the grammar exactly the same. I'm changing nothing apart from putting a kind of like explanation if that word is very unfamiliar, but everything else I'm keeping the same, kind of. It makes sense to me. And then I do a little summary on this side, just with my own words, like a little paraphrase or summary, so I know what this is about. just to help me keep all that information in my head. And I'm going to do that kind of chunk by chunk. It's very time consuming, and I know there's no way I'm going to do this for the whole book. But fortunately, the professor has given us some instructions and the specific themes we're going to look at, and for each theme, the section of the book we should focus on. So hopefully, at least, I don't need to do absolutely every page and every section. I will just focus on the ones that's in the email. But for the rest, I will try my best to read Middle English. I've done about 55 lines, and it took me about just under 2 hours. It's a helpful exercise. I'm glad I did it, and I think I'm getting there. Even just doing those 50 odd lines, Chaucer is already feeling less alien. I will manage. I'm sure I will manage. I don't think I will need to do everything like this. I think I will get familiar with it and I'll be fine. All the best, Nico, all the best. When I was copying and pasting from Gutenberg, I noticed the version on Gutenberg is different from the Penguin's version. So there must be multiple manuscripts or something like that. I noticed that when I do Shakespeare as well. The version on Gutenberg is never exactly the same. I guess, yeah, there are many different versions of Shakespeare, even if you read Arden edition, Folger edition, Oxford edition, even between them, there are differences, various differences. And I don't know where Gutenberg gets their source, but at least it saves me typing up absolutely everything. So I cross-checked everything, and if there are differences, I made sure what I've got down on my Notion page is the same as the Penguin edition. It took some time, but I think it's worth making sure I'm following the Penguin edition rather than a Gutenberg edition, which I have no idea where it's from. And this Middle English is breaking my spell checker. Everything has red lines underneath it. I think I will call it a day. It's 11:30. I will finish here. A little update on my reading progress. I have finished it. It's now Wednesday night, pretty late, and tomorrow morning I'm going to the seminar discussing Troilus and Criseyde. Just want to tell you what the story is about before I give you my first impressions after the seminar. So I thought I'll do it tonight. It's basically a love story that remind me a little bit of Romeo and Juliet, actually, but it's less dramatic. Okay, let me start from the beginning. So Troilus and Criseyde is about a pair of lovers, Troilus and Criseyde. Troilus is one of Priam's sons. So Troilus is basically Hector's brother, Paris' brother, and they live in Troy. Sorry if that's obvious. And the whole story happens during the Iliad. I find that really interesting. So at the beginning of the book, Hector is still alive. By the end of it, Hector is dead, I think. And this happens inside the walls of Troy, while the Trojan War happens outside. Does that make sense? I find that really cool. So we meet a lot of the Trojan heroes. We meet some of the Greek heroes in the story. That just sounds really cool to me. So Troilus is one of this handsome guy who's never fell in love before, and he mocked love. He mocked all of his friends who were in love. He is a bit like Benedict in Much Ado About Nothing, saying, "Oh, I would never fall in love," that kind of thing. And very soon, within book one, obviously, he saw Criseyde and he fell in love with her. And so there's this whole process of getting them together, and then the key figure for getting them together is this guy called Pandarus, who is a friend of Troilus, and he's also conveniently the uncle of Criseyde. He's quite a comical figure, I think. So for book 1, 2, and 3, he's just basically scheming and plotting to bring them together. And a lot of it is quite funny. I can completely imagine how Shakespeare makes use of this material. Some of them are quite theatrical. So I look forward to seeing how Shakespeare makes use of this material. And in book 3, so it has 5 books, which is a very typical Shakespeare structure of his plays as well. But anyway, in book 3, they kind of come together finally. One key scene is their first meeting. It's very funny. And the second key scene is basically them coming together for the first time at night in the bedroom. Thanks to Pandarus scheming, they finally get to sleep together. I think that's the gist of it. It's not explicit, but I think that's what's it's hinting. And after book 3, everything goes downhill. Basically, at the beginning of the book, Criseyde's father, he's kind of a prophet, and he knows that Troy is going to fall. So himself, he just kind of changed side and went to the Greeks to say, "I'm going to be part of you." So he left his daughter behind and just went on his own, which I think is pretty ridiculous. But yeah, fair enough. Criseyde at the time was already a widow, so she's not like a young girl. But anyway, this father left, and then by book 4, he suddenly remembered his daughter is still in the walls of Troy, and he said, "Oh, I want my daughter back." So he struck a deal. Basically, I want to swap Criseyde back out of Troy with some other war prisoners. So the lovers had to separate. So that's the kind of the sad bit, the tragedy, where the tragedy comes in. And this whole book 4 is just about the separation and how sad, how heartbreaking they are. And then book 5, I think, book 5 starts with Criseyde leaving the city. And how much shall I tell you about the ending? I'm pretty shocked about the ending. I quite like to tell you, because in book 1, right in the almost like a prologue bit, the author tells us, he says, I'll read the Middle English, but not in the Middle English accent, if you know what I mean. He says, "In which you may the double sorrows hear of Troilus in loving of Criseyde, and how that she forsook him ere she died." a massive spoiler on page 5. So basically, she dumped him. I was so shocked when I first read it. And it's funny though, it's just a spoiler, right? But you read it and you think, oh, what happens? And that doesn't affect you reading the rest of the book as well at all. You just feel like, oh, I want to find out what happens. So that's quite fun. And in the end, she does forsake him. But then I don't think she died in the end. He died in the end, which is very sad. It's basically a tragic love story, but with unequal affection. I was slightly surprised about that. And it's the man who's the faithful one, the loyal one, all the way till the end. And the woman kind of had a change of heart and just said, I don't love you anymore. I love this Greek hero now. I was a bit shocked about that. I think it's just a very pure love story. There's no complication of politics or like family struggles. Nothing. There's nothing else apart from these two lovers being in love and trying to get together at the beginning. They got together and how much they loved each other's company, and after that how they were heartbroken because they had to separate, and they decide, oh, we will meet again, it's not that far, we will meet again, I'll come back and meet you. How the promises were broken, and Troilus was sad and couldn't eat, couldn't drink, couldn't sleep, and went on the battlefield and got himself killed. And so it's basically a really sad love story, and it's this long. It's quite an achievement. And I look forward to seeing how Shakespeare makes use of this material. I think he probably made it a lot more complicated. He probably added a lot more characters in, and still the main storyline would be about the lovers and the love story. I don't know what else he could add, but anyway, I really look forward to reading Shakespeare's rendition of Troilus and Criseyde. Before I go, I want to read you Troilus' song in book 1. Troilus' love songs are quite kind of, I want to say famous or well known, which is not true, but they kind of, those songs get picked out and studied specifically. So I want to read you a little bit in Middle English. I've been practicing. So here is my reading in Middle English of Troilus' song in book 1. If no love is, O God, what fill is so? And if love is, what thing on which is hay? If love be good, from whence cometh my woe? If it be weak, a wonder thinketh me, when every torment and adversity that come of him might do me savory thinker. For I thirsty, the more that each drinker. And if that are me own lust a burner, from whence cometh my whiling and my plainter? If harm agree me, where to plain it thinner? E not, no we and weary that he fainter, or quicker death, or sweeter harm so quainter. How male then may switch quantity, but if that he content, that he be. And if that he consent, he wrongfully complaining with, that's post to and fro, O stirless within a boat and me, amid the sea, betwixt and wind is tore, that in contrary studden evermore. Alas, what is this wonder maladia? For hot of cold, for cold of hot, dear. Apologies if you've done this in school. You probably know how bad I'm doing. It sounds quite fun. It's a lot better than I expected. When I saw the professor's email saying everyone has to read something in Middle English in class, I was like, oh, how am I going to do this? But thanks to a tape or not a tape, a recording, I was able to listen to it again and again and then copy it. It's like learning a new language. It's really fun. Hopefully, I will be able to update you tomorrow after the seminar, and fill you in with anything that I missed or completely misunderstood. And yeah, hopefully talk a bit more sensibly. Is that the right word? Talk a bit more coherently, especially when it's not in the middle of the night as well. Oh, it's past midnight already. I should go to bed. So see you tomorrow. Hi, I came out of this seminar. I need to speak relatively quietly. I hope you can hear me. I'm in a random building because it's slightly wet outside today, so I couldn't go to the same park I went last time, and I think there's a lecture of some sort going out just next door, so I need to be quiet. I hope you can hear me. The seminar went well. We discussed topics like Criseyde as a character, love as sickness, or love in general. That was what struck me most, the depiction of love, and the depiction of the feeling of being in love. Very impressive, almost like Shakespeare, on the same level of Shakespeare. The way Chaucer talks about the feeling of being in love is very, very, what's the word? Complex, but also I completely understand what he's talking about. For example, the bit I kind of prepared in Middle English is about the contrary of the contrary feeling of being in love. If I'm in love, why do I complain? Why do I lament? But if I am not in love, what is this feeling? And all sorts. Very interesting. Also the theme of free will and predestination, a massive topic, very interesting as well. Not a lot to report. Oh, I think I've been looking at the wrong side of the camera, I'm sorry. You're here. I need to be quick, so I just want to tell you the 2 editions I've been reading, just in case you're interested to find out a bit more. So I got these 2 editions, the Penguin edition and the Norton edition, both very good. The Penguin has more notes. Let's be geeky again. The notes at the bottom, there are a lot more notes compared to the Norton edition. But the Norton edition has its notes on the side, which is easier to follow your eye. Kind of, it's shorter distance to go to find the explanation of the words. Other differences: the Penguin edition has a massive dictionary glossary. The Norton edition only has about a page. I think generally speaking, Penguin is more friendly to absolute beginners. But I love the Norton edition because it has the comparison of the original source. So that side is Chaucer's Troilus and Criseyde, and that side is his source material. So I didn't say this probably last night. A lot of Troilus and Criseyde is actually a translation. So Chaucer translated his source material and made it into English. But you can also see there are a lot of empty pages, which means all of this stuff is Chaucer's own invention, his own writing and addition. So yeah, it's a mixture of translation and his own writing, just to keep that in mind. And also in Norton Norton edition, there are some articles and the criticism, and the first one is by C.S. Lewis, what Chaucer really did to Il Filostrato. I think that's the name of the source material. I'm interested in everything C.S. Lewis writes, but I didn't have time to read that, so I need to keep that in mind. So those are the 2 editions. If you're interested, I'd recommend both. So that's the end of Troilus and Criseyde for now, and I will be returning this to the library after this, and I will continue to read another collection of works by Chaucer for the next seminar, something about good women. We'll report. So I feel like I missed a lot. I haven't reported, but I worry there will be a flood of students coming out of this classroom soon. So I need to end here. I hope you enjoyed reading along, if you have been reading along, or if you're interested, I hope you get to Troilus and Criseyde at some point. It's worth reading, very interesting. Again, I'm still thoroughly enjoying my reading, my studying at Durham. So see you next time.